Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Olivier Madiba with us today. He's building fun and inspiring games with Kiro'o Games since 20 years now. So he's building an entertainment and a culture value chain in Africa, one pixel at a time. Interesting background. Kiro'o is one of the only of its kind. So I believe it was founded in 2012 and they got through a successful Kickstarter campaign. So, yeah, one of the only studio of its kind like that in Africa that I've seen. So, very excited to get into that one today. This podcast is brought to you by bookwritegpt.com. If you want to write a book through your LinkedIn posts, you just feed your LinkedIn post to BookWriteGPT, and it comes back to you with a beautifully crafted AI book that you can publish on Kindle. If you want that, you can get one credit for free on my on the house. You can go to bookwritegpt.com. Olivier, welcome to the podcast. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
So I am the founder of Kiro'o Games, like you say. I make games since 23 as an amateur and since 2013 as a professional. We have founded the first professional gaming studio in our country, not the continent because there are other studios like us, but in our country. And we have been part of the gaming history a lot of time. So we have made the first ever African fantasy game in the world on PC. We are the first African studio in Africa delivering African content on console in the history in 2024. We are also the first to succeed mobile money payment in a game some years ago. And now we are working on the first African life simulator. So
Quite
we make a lot of
impressive.
things.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the first African simulator. But first, how did you get started? Why did you decided to create such a company that's not often started in Africa, right? You might be one of the only in Africa, or at least one of the most successful ones. So why did you decided to start such a business?
There is a lot of studios in Africa. There is at least I think 15 professional studios on the continent, mostly doing B2B deals. That's true. Some are doing their own games, but mostly are doing B2B. How did I started? I've started a lot first, so it's the same studio but like the third version. So we keep the right name, and it's like the third Kiro'o Games version. But like every game designer in the world, it started by passion. So we really loved games. We wanted to make games. We wanted people to feel what we have felt because of the stories that people made us play. We wanted to tell our own stories, but on a international way, so that even if you are not African, it will touch you. And this is something that we succeed because in terms of review, we had like a 9 or 10 on 10 on writing or most of our games. Now we started also because it was a rebellion against the system, because like you said, the world has been set up so that we don't have the choice to do what we want to do. We were obliged to not do our dream. And for me, it was like, fuck you world, I will do what I want, and I will break every wall that will impeach me to do it. So it was also the good timing, because we had the indie games era. People were able to make games again in their garage, sell it online without finding publishers, getting physical prints, budget, etc. So this is how we tried to make Kiro'o games. And yeah, but this was the beginning of the story back in 2013. And then I had another reboot like 5 years later in 2018, something like that, where I realized that more than just a gaming studio to entertain, we have to build something bigger in a place where political elites, financial elites failed. I think businessmen and artists have to take power in Africa to build finally what's expected from them. So I want my studio to be big, make a lot of money in gaming, but mostly to invest where others don't.
Very
And
interesting. We'll get to that as well. But first, what were the challenges that you went through in these 20 years? What did you face trying to build a big gaming studio?
so making games is hard everywhere first. So no matter where you are in the planet, if you want to make games, you have to struggle because it's an elite industry. So there is 30,000 games every year. So to be remarkable, you have to be exceptional first. But doing games in Africa is Elden Ring. So it's like the top of the top hardest thing. So what were the challenge? First, it was the trust. It took us literally 20 years to get the normal trust to start discussion on the table. So when we started back in 2013 as a professional plan, the first Kickstarter campaign we launched, uh, first, I was not able to launch the campaign because I was in Cameroon. So I had all the interface when I started. Oh, launch the project. I seen the red flag. Your country is not allowed to do that. So we went on Indiegogo where it was more international. And there, people were sure we were an African scam. So everyone was like, no, you will never make this game. It's just surely an African scam. And it was really, really humiliating. And so this was one of the first challenge. So we had to fund the game on another way. We have invented equity crowdfunding instinctively. It didn't have a name at the time. So people started to buy shares of the studio online. And that's how we funded the first game. You also have the training because I was the only one in the team who had tried to make a game. Really, everyone was just drawer of programmers. So I had to train them in 2 months to make the game. We didn't have enough money to pay Unity or Unreal for the first game. So we also have to build our own engine, and we made it, by the way. And yeah, so it was, and a lot of other challenge because even when we finished the first game, we had to take a publisher. We made some mistakes. Publishers were not experienced enough, so they made mistakes. We made mistakes, and you have now to survive after launching your first game, getting good technical success, but not financial success. Our first game is success for everyone, but not us. We have a lot of copies sold, but we didn't have much of this money ourselves. So you had to go through it, etc., etc. But the training, human training, will be for me the most challenge, and also the trust to investors. Today is good. We have enough traction. You must know that when most of the gaming studio are funded by X something. So you are next Ubisoft, the next EA, X Riot Games. But we were X some nothing. So we had to, even today, we often have to remember people that even if we don't have it, we have all these games, all this pride, this thing showing that we know our jobs. So let's start the normal discussion now.
And how do you decide what kind of games to create? What is the creative process? Do you look at the market? Who do you design these games for? Like, walk me through your process to actually decide, okay, we're creating this game, this project now.
Okay, when we were very young, it was just like, yeah, we want to tell this story and we do this. And of course, market was not always a fit. Now, what we do is we first make our due diligence on the market, like what are people want to play today. For example, today in Africa, when you see the numbers, Africa is young, yes, but young people in Africa don't have money. So you have to make games for people who have money, so adults. And adults in Africa don't relate with ninja fantasy because they didn't build it in their childhood. So you have to make games about what they care about and make it engaging and addictive enough. And this is where, for example, the idea to make a social parody simulation come from.
And
So you
I
have to
see
see the numbers, but also the social realities beyond the numbers. And yeah.
because it goes from, for example, that there's this one player game I would refer it as like Dynasty Warriors sort of, but like a bit more cartoonish that you built and feels like a Black Panther game in which you slowly advance. But now I see here Le Responsable. You have
And
a
it's a pro
project
in
that walks you through like the African government corruption or something, sort of hilarious. So how how do you decide like if this is gonna work or not? Are just like are most African like laughing about this and just like knowing that there's so much corruption that there needs to be a game satire about it?
Yeah, the idea, like I said, it was about what are adults in Africa talking every day. We talk about the corruption problem and we talk about private life because we are in this stage in our life where we have the traditions that are good things but also not good things. And we have this modernity pressure, economics, um, ideologic, and we are really trying to see what do we keep, what do we mix, and we want the game to be a catalyzer for these questions. So yeah, we present it like a corruption simulation, but it's mostly a simulation of cause, and consequences. The root of the corruption in Africa is that people don't project themselves in the consequence. Uh, we have in face of poverty and a lot of things. Lots of us have created like a mental defense to not project like we are focused on today, because if I want to project my life in 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, I just start to panic it because I have no control on what will happen in the chaotic place. So this creates the fact that when you have some people like our political leaders who steal money for health system for 10, 20 years, they don't connect it to the fact that when they will be sick, they will not be able to heal themselves in their country and they can die on a plane when they try to get out. A lot of them already die like this, but they literally don't connect the point. So we want the game, in fact, to be a place where you can come, be the ultimate corrupted guy you want, but you will feel the consequence. And of course, if you go on the good road, you also realize that you create trust, you create prosperity, because the game will not only give you the bad road, it will give you also the good. And we want the game to be this catalyzer for a generation discussion.
Right. Then are you one of the only like actually thinking and talking about these things, or do you see that also prominent in the entrepreneurial community in Africa? People are thinking, talking about these things and just fed up.
Everyone is talking about it. When I met the other African studios, we realized that we have the same discussion, not maybe the same projects, but we know that we are not just building gaming studios. We are building legacies. We are building symbols. Also, because of our story of people able to make a game starting from nothing in Cameroon and getting recognition outside, there is a lot of young people in Africa starting to believe again that you can work hard, you can work ethically and still succeed. Because when you are surrounded uh, by the impression that only the baddest people, only the stealers, the scammers succeed and honest people get scammed, you start to, and that's the thing is, we are really young countries. When you see the stories of United States, it was worse than that at some points in their story. And every countries have this phase. We are really young stories, young countries. Cameroon don't have 100 years as a country. For example, we don't even have yet 100 years. I think it will be in 2060, something like that. Not sure, yeah.
Interesting.
So, and what is interesting is the difference of mindset you have between me And for example, my president with his 90 years old is the same difference you have with the French from the medieval era and the French today. So we are doing in 3 generations what took 20 to others. The good part is not visible everywhere, but for those who can see, we are going fast, even in our bad and good, but we will learn faster.
And why do you think it's so slow? Why do you think it takes so much time? And what would an actual revolution look like? Just a coup d'etat, like
Leadership,
overthrowing the
that's
government?
leadership. It's slow because for now the bad person are the good position. You just have to switch it, create new systems. For example, like I told you, we don't have. We are in the part of the world who need the most entrepreneur every like we need to launch an entrepreneur mania in Africa. But I was at the top of our central bank, like this ultimate banking part, and the guy who is in charge of investing in small business at 2 p.m. in his office, he was talking about flirting with girls with like 3 guys in his office not working. He was, someone who didn't deserve the job. He was the nephew or the son of someone, so they gave him the job. But he's mediocre and he's not working on it. His windows is giving, so he see the misery, but he don't connect the points with the fact that his job is to make investment of the central bank go to this to the enterprise, and you realize that it can be hard to change them. So it's better to create your own system, like you build your gaming studio, you make hundreds of millions of USD, and you start to invest on things that they are just looking, and you take everything with other people in front of them.
And how do you think you will build that? And is your core audience mostly African or is it worldwide?
It depends. For the games, it depends since we are a cross-media company. The African fantasy games and IP is mostly global. So for now, we know that, okay, global audience relate more with the African fantasy game because, like you said, there is this Black Panther, Ninja, fantasy aspect where people are curious to find an African writing about it. And also kids in Africa today relate also to this fantasy, but they don't have money, etc. So the idea is with the parody game, we make money from adults in Africa. Fantasy game, we make some money from niche in the global audience. Now we use this money to structure the next generation by putting fantasy in the place of the putting our characters, our IPs in front of kids. Then in 10 years, 20 years, when they become adults, you have your markets for
Love that.
fantasy in Africa too.
Very cool perspectives and companies. Olivier, where can people find out more about you and your studio?
You can go on our website, Kiro'o.com. Maybe I will write it there. And I'm also available on LinkedIn. So people can go on Kiro'o.com. They will have all the products, the portfolios. They can enjoy it. We make very inspiring story. You have fans, you have fights, you have epicness. But the idea for us is mainly to always give you something that will serve you in real life. When you play
Right.
one of our game, you learn something for real life.
Cool. So I just added it to the description of the YouTube.
Okay.
And yeah, thanks for being on.